Because if you actually believe in forever, if you really believe in forever, yes, I mean believe in forever, it will change everything about the way you live. It really will. Now, hear what I'm talking about when I talk about belief. I don't mean that you just have a conceptual knowledge of forever that you've given intellectual assent to. That's a first step in belief. That's not really belief. Because remember the definition there in Hebrews 11, it says, if you believe, if you want to please God, you must believe that He exists, stay with me, and He rewards those who seek Him. Now that's a troublemaker's definition of faith. Because it's not enough to say, I believe. If I believe, then I'm going to live like I believe. Here it is. Belief is not something you do with your brain. Belief is something you do with your life. Belief is always, true belief is always something that you live. And that's hard for us because I think all of us tend to have places in our life where there are these very clear gaps between what we say we believe and how we're actually feeling and how we're actually thinking and how we're actually living in the interior of our lives. That's all of us. I include myself in that. Now, if you pay attention, the evidence is pretty clear that this just can't be all that there is. If this is all that there is, we're in big trouble. I mean, think about this. The cry of that baby just born who's in an incubator, suffering from disease that baby doesn't understand, is a screaming message, this can't be all that there is. The fear of that third grader who doesn't happen to be popular, of the abuse he or she will get on a kindergarten that makes that little girl or that little boy not want to go to school, is a clear screaming message, this can't be all that there is. The lostness of a teenager who seems just intent on destroying his life is a screaming message. This can't be all that there is. The acrimony of a couple that once adored one another, whose heart would lift when they would hear the voices of one another, who now can barely be civil with one another, is a screaming message, this can't be all that there is. The disease that's like a hand that reaches in and yanks the life out of a 30-year-old is a clear message. This can't be all that there is. The groaning death of an elderly person that just about loses their personality is a crying message that this just can't be all that there is, but we treat it like it is. We don't get the message. The messages are all around us. And I would propose to you, I'm about to hurt your feelings, that sometime in the last month, in a moment of joy, in a moment of anger, in the moment of frustration, in a moment of disappointment, you actually acted like this was all that there is. We all do it. We all do it. Now here's the problem. Ecclesiastes says that all of us have eternity hardwired in our hearts. We're forever people. I'm not talking about being spiritual. I'm not talking about doctrine. Every human being that was made has eternity hardwired in his or her heart. Isn't that amazing? Because we were not created to live short-focused, small agenda lives. Remember the plan in the beginning, that life was to give way to life, 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 on into eternity. That was the plan. And so we're meant to live these long view lives. But we live in a culture that in no way enforces, encourages, stimulates the reality of forever. You won't have many university classrooms this year who will invest themselves in a stimulating discussion of eternity. There won't be many movies that you can watch at your local theater that will have as an important part of the plot eternity. Diane Sawyer won't finish her broadcast saying, but remember, this is not all there is. There is a forever. This is Diane Sawyer, the ABC News. You won't hear that. There's been this radical shift in the philosophy, the operational theology of Western culture that has taken eternity away from us. Somebody stole eternity and it's killing us. It's hurting us. Because you see, if you don't have eternity, then the agenda is you load all of your hopes and dreams into the here and now. You hope somehow here and now can become a paradise that it will never be. You put way too much expectations on people. You put way too much hopes on this broken, fallen world, and you're crazy, and you drive the people around you crazy, and it all just ends in a great big mess. Now, one of the zeals of my life, and people who know me know this, is that I only know how to do one thing. It's to take these pieces of theology that we say we believe and draw down chords to where we live every day. Because I think we need to reject any form of theology that's an end in itself. Because theology is meant to be a means to an end, and the end is a radically transformed life. All theology is meant to be transformative. All theology is meant to change you. And if your theology doesn't change you, you either have bad theology or you're not living true to your theology. That's it. Because theology should just turn your life upside down. It should take you apart and rebuild you again. There's a violence to theology because it's meant to decimate where you're living and rebuild you in a much better way. Now, if it's true that we have eternity forever hardwired in our hearts, then there are moments in all of our lives where we cry out for forever. We just don't know it. When you're watching the suffering of another person and you wish you could just do this and it would go away, you're crying for forever. When you're facing the death of somebody and you don't know how you're going to get beyond it, you're crying for forever. When you're dealing with injustice or racism, you're crying out for forever. It's hardwired inside of us. Now, here's what this means. It means we just live in a very weird schizophrenia. We're just all a bunch of schizophrenics. Most of us are pretty functional, but that's what we are. Because this thing lives inside of us. That's the way God designed us, because He designed us to live with Him forever. So He built it inside of us. It's part of your hardwiring. It's not first a theological choice. It's the choice of the Creator. Yet, we tend to live too much captivated by right here, right nowism. Gets us all.